Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Now, today's state of the game, a lot of what he talked about in terms of the factions are actually things that I made in a separate video, Factions of New York. The only thing was that, today they went a little bit into a little bit more detail. When I looked at everything and evaluated it, it wasn't too much detail to demand its own analysis. But the state of the game actually has something in it that I felt was very important and a question that a lot of people are asking. Now, let's jump right into what people are asking questions about, and I'll answer that at the forefront, and then I'm going to put all the other update stuff on the back end. Okay, so stick with me. Now, the very first thing is this: level 30, level 40. What's the interaction going to be like? Okay, everybody's probably asking, so if I'm level 30 and I got a guy level 40 that wants to play something in DC with me, maybe the raid, maybe other events or other kinds of, activities, what's that going to look like? Well, the developers have actually spoken and actually described what this would be. The answer to that is level 30 agents are going to remain level 30, but they can still play with their level 40 buddies, or level 40 agents can still play with their level 30 buddies in the map that the agent is actually in that sense. So whichever map you're in, you can play together if both agents have access to that map. So everyone who owns a Division 2 has access to the DC map, but in terms of New York, you're going to have to get into the Warlords of New York DLC to be able to go in there and level up to 40. But nonetheless, if somebody wants to play the raid with you, the raid is actually going to scale and match everybody up to the higher level in terms of armor and health. I think those are the things that a developer specifically mentioned will be leveling up, and the loot is going to drop and scale to both parties separately. So example, the level 40 guy is going to be getting level 40 items, while the level 30 guy is going to be getting level 30 items. Now, here's where I think the interesting kicker might be. Nobody asked the question if both agents can actually share items, but I think that's the possibility. So say you're running with somebody who's level 30, doesn't have the DLC, and a level 40 item drops for you. I think you might be able to share that item, but the agent is not going to be able to use it. Just like you say you're leveling somebody up, the person is on your session and you're in World Tier 5, and you start getting all this gear score 500 stuff, you can drop it for an agent and they can use it, but the agent's at level 30, so they can wear those items. But say the agent is like on level 29 or level 28, and you're getting gear score 500 stuff, which is level 30 stuff, they cannot use it until they get to level 30. So I think there might be a little bit of a lock where an agent who is at level 40 gives an agent who's at level 30 something, and the agent cannot use it until they level up. I think that might be the same case here. So this is the way the loot levels are going to work. This is the way the leveling up system is also going to work. Now, jumping into that, let's move into shade levels. The shade levels are supposedly these kinds of leveling systems that agents can actually start getting after hitting level 40. The developers also have said this is actually also account wide. So if you have 4 agents, as you're leveling up your shade level, this is going to actually go through every single agent of yours, but each agent has to be at level 40. So these are some of the things regarding leveling, and the developers were able to kind of paint a clearer picture for us. The rest of it is mostly things in regard to the AI and the way the AI behaviors are. But the way that I kind of got it from the developers when they were giving this was not just sharing about the AI. They were actually talking about how it's not only going to be the AI changes, but there are going to be drastic measures as to how we play against the different and improved AI. So don't think you're going to just approach everybody with a run and gun or different, or the same skills for the same builds. When you walk into a mission with the Rikers, you're going to want to, prep yourself for that mission, because these AIs are going to be playing quite differently. Now, let me give you a few examples that they actually mentioned and why they feel like this is going to be the case. In the case of the Rikers, if you maybe run into a Rikers mob, you can fight with them normally, but they're going to have some really cool stuff. Example, the OG Rikers, they can come into the battle and they can give their teams over heals. So this is something that you're going to have to make sure that you're doing, because if you remember in the Division 1, the Rikers used to have a leader, this guy that wore like a jacket and a hat, like a baseball cap or something, and he would have this little sign on his head or symbol, and that kind of got the Rikers to be a little bit more aggressive and organized to try to take you down. but now you're going to have that kind of mechanic, but instead this guy is going to allow for the team to significantly be more aggressive, where you can actually see that the OG Riker's impact is making, some kind of a move against you, and the Rikers that are around that OG Riker are going to get the overheal buff. So your priority will probably be to take out this, OG Riker as quickly as you possibly can. And then you're going to have Rikers which are snipers with shields. So they're not going to just be sniping from cover. They can probably do some really cool stuff, maybe change position much more fluidly, and then use like maybe an SRS sniper, which is supposedly a smaller, more compact weapon. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, but they will be sniping. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of them. Also, the big heavies that are going to be coming at you with a flasher, and the tanks, that's pretty much what they are. And a nail gun, you can actually destroy their flasher, which actually can blind everyone else around them. So that's a gameplay mechanic that you can leverage and all of that good stuff. Now, another really cool thing about the Black Tusks that was mentioned is that the Black Tusks now have these LMB rushers. I mentioned that in my other factions video, but they went into a little bit more specifics, which I want to share with you guys. And that is the LMB rushers are going to be running after, they're going to be running at you, but the elites are going to have flashbang grenades that they toss at you. If you remember in the Division 1, they had shock grenades, but now the shock grenades have now been moved to these warhounds. They're going to be two different warhounds, the Grenadier and the minigun warhounds. Now watch out for the elite Grenadier warhounds, because their goal is to be volleying grenades at you, but instead they'll be volleying shock grenades at you. I think it's a volley of 3 grenades, maybe I think back to back. So this is supposed to change the way you play, maybe even a situation where people are going to be running their hive when they're in cover, because there are going to be all kinds of different cover deterrents. I think that's what these warhounds are. And then there's going to be a minigun warhound, which keeps moving from point to point, and all it does is just shooting, constantly shooting. Like the LMB little minigun that has wheels. I think this warhound is just going to be running after you and trying to just continue to pressure you and put some damage on you and your team. So the idea is to make sure that you can shoot their weak points, which will be on their legs. Also, there are going to be peacekeepers, which are also kind of friendlies, but don't trust you, but are actually better. So whatever that mechanic is going to look like, I guess we're going to see when the game drops. Then the cleaners, newer mechanics in terms of how the cleaners work and archetypes are going to be available, and these cleaners are going to be doing all kinds of things. They're going to be throwing napalm to forbid you from entering specific cover. So if they throw this napalm in a cover source, you can't get into cover in that place. Okay, so you have to find a way to maybe be immune, or maybe if there's a kind of hazard protection that's available in the next patch coming. I guess that's going to be something that's pretty cool. And then they spoke about the new, seasons, which is something that, I already spoke about in terms of the other video, I guess I'll be speaking about it in a future video. Sorry about that. And this is going to be telling you how these seasons are actually going to work. It seems really basic, but I think with more in-depth and reading some articles, there's actually an article on the Division 2 game, the website, that talks more about seasons. So largely, there are a whole lot of things that are coming. I don't want to give away too many of these gameplay mechanics. If you need more details, just ask a question. I have like a little raggedy piece of paper where I've taken notes. It was literally 2 pages worth of notes that I took down, but a lot of it is pertinent to when you actually start playing the game. And I feel like players are going to be able to figure this out as they're going. But in terms of the leveling system, a lot of players were concerned as to how that was going to work in terms of loot and in terms of playing with your friends. So it's designed in a very strange way. I have to be very honest on the back end. They have put systems in place to kind of push you towards getting the DLC for continuity. And, largely if you've been a part of this community for a while, a lot of us have kind of like said, yeah, we're going to be down for some continuity, and hopefully we can move away from a lot of the old rinse and repeat content, and the refresh is supposed to help. Now, in DC, we're going to be seeing, I think, some of these mechanics actually show up. They did mention that there are going to be some things that, you can farm and work on in DC, but I think DC is going to be like a limited map in that sense. If you think about it this way, think about it as you know, how they added underground in the Division 1, where if somebody was an underground, you could not join them in a group or whatever. You had to either travel there or wait for them to kind of get to where you were to be able to get, you know, get into a group and play with them and all that good stuff. So let me hear in the comment section what you think about this leveling system. I think that's the most important aspect of this video in terms of state of the game. I want to know your thoughts. I think it's a decent idea. And largely even for the new players, you know, the way the price was discounted for them to be able to get in, I think that really brought a lot of people in. And I think a lot of those players are going to be getting the year 2 stuff. And, you know, if they even level up one character, play off year 2, and they're like, well, what else am I going to do? They can always go back to the DC map, and they can always kind of interact with that map in a weird way. Now, the other thing that I don't know is how, you know, your level, well, oh, that's actually true. I forgot to say this. I should have said this in the beginning. Legendaries are only going to be available for level 40 agents. So that's something that they've said. So an agent that's level 30 will not be able to play legendary missions. They have to level up to level 40, which that might not be really sound news for a lot of people, but it is what it is. They might change that, you know, to accommodate people who are level 30 who have the DC map. But largely, this is pretty much what I think the vision is. So I guess in the comment section, we can continue this conversation. I'll get out of your hair. Thank you very much for your time and audience, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.